lovely day. Today we get to host Jane App in the Staffless Practice Group. Like, it's two worlds coming together that are from the same planet. Does that make sense? We've got Amy and we've got Lauren, and the intention for today is to just take a deep dive on what Jane App has going on. Yeah, for those of you, first of all, who don't know me, my name is Dr. Jody Dinnerman. I'm the founder and creator of all things Staffless Practice. Um, if you are one of our clients, please come meet us in the Staffless Practice Zoom. You have the link. Um, I have been screaming from the rooftops for years about how much I love Jane App. I had a lot of resistance to switching over my EHR program in 2019 because I just didn't want anything new. I didn't have any bandwidth. And the deeper I got into the Jane App system and the Jane App community, the more I was like, this is the best thing. And all of my chiropractic people need to know it. And then as we grew Staffless Practice Academy, we became an ambassador of Jane App. And it's now a natural progression when somebody comes into our playground, they hear about Jane left, right, and center. So with that being said, Amy, do you want to introduce yourself? Lauren, you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Amy. I am the manual therapy advocate here at Jane. So my focus is very much on the processes and how Jane helps people within our chiropractic space, physical therapy, massage therapy, all of that wonderful stuff. And I'm excited to share some things with Jane about with you today. Yeah.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Amy. My name's Lauren. I work with Jane's ambassador team, so I get to work with Jody all the time, which is lovely. I'll be kind of moderating this session, so if anyone has any comments or questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. I'll make sure I queue them up for Amy, and I will do so on Facebook as well.
Thanks. Right. So you guys, Lauren is housing the Facebook chat. If you guys have questions there, she'll note that we've got your question. And then if you're one of our clients, hi, Erin. Hi, Judith. If you're one of our clients, come meet us in the Zoom and you'll hear us. You'll see us and hear us here. And if you have any questions for my students, drop them in the Zoom. Okay, so let's dive in. Let me just start with this. Most of the people who are listening to this training are in the following situation. They're overwhelmed, they're overworked, they're underpaid, they're probably even undernurtured. They are tired of the hire, train, fire cycle, the gamut, right? The merry-go-round. They want to use Jane with all of her, with every bell and whistle she has, but they don't have the bandwidth to spend 2 hours a week studying it. For that person, chiros, PTs, NDs, OTs, MDs, we've got a host of all acupuncturists. What do you say to them to start? What's the main message to them, Amy?
My main message I would say from Jane, because I can totally understand being overwhelmed and just not having bandwidth to get things set up. So the number one takeaway I would have would be that probably Jane's best offering is that you can lean on us. We have a fantastic support team. We're there for you, and we are infinitely easy to get a hold of. If you want to call us, you're talking to a real person. If you want to chat with us, you're talking to a real person. If you're having a day where you're like, I don't want to talk to anybody, we absolutely have some tools, including we've started making use of a little bit of AI to answer questions for you, pulling from all of our years of knowledge and training around Jane to get those questions answered if you don't feel like talking to someone. So I think the biggest thing that I would say is when you're feeling overwhelmed, please don't hesitate to reach out for help, because Jane is there to make sure that you know what you need to know and know what you don't know to make your Jane work the best for you.
And honestly, you guys, you hear Amy say that, but it's true. It really is that way. Like, you call and they're excited to hear from you. And a lot of people say to me, what's the difference between Jane App and the Practice Suite or Calendly or all of these different software programs? And my answer is always Jane takes care of what happens inside of my office. It's the scheduling, it's the billing, it's the note taking. It's the reminder that the appointment is happening. All of the marketing pieces are the Practice Suite, the group texting, the e-blasting, the lead funnels, all of that stuff is outside of Jane. Jane makes it so that I have one place to look that is super intuitive to get my practice members scheduled without me touching it. I even have a QR code hanging on my door where people scan it when they come in to say that they're there. So I don't even have to check people in, because you guys remember, I don't have a desk. I don't have people at a desk, and I've got a busy chiropractic center. So what are some of the common pain points that private practice owners are struggling with, and how can we help with being more efficient when it comes to all things Jane?
Yeah, it's a great question, and there's so many things that Jane can help with. But I think, definitely you brought up a really good one, which is the fact that we have our QR code for check-in. You don't necessarily need to have someone sitting at a front desk because they check in. In Jane, in the back end, what will happen is on your appointment, a little person will start bouncing, and it will let you know that that person has arrived, and you're able then to make sure that you're moving on to the next thing as you need to.
Can
Online
we see
booking.
that, Amy? Can
Yeah.
you show that to us?
You know
I'm
what?
very visual, and I will interrupt a lot. You guys know that about me. Like if I'm like, ooh, they're gonna want to see that, I'm gonna stop you in your
You
tracks.
know what? That's a great segue into sharing my screen. I figured one would come up soon, and so I will grab that. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and share my
And
screen.
then I also want to ask you, like, while we're there, let's look at the waitlist feature too, because I know I get stuck on that myself.
That is definitely one that I'm going to touch on for sure. So just heading to the schedule here for today. So what would happen this when it comes to how the wait list looks when we do a scan, because I don't have the ability to actually scan a QR code for my demo clinic. But what would happen here would be you would see on the appointment right here where this check mark is will be a little bouncing person. And I'm here, so I'll bounce for you so that you can see what that looks like. It'll be a little bouncing person. And then what will also happen over here when you do dive into the appointment itself is it will actually tell you that the person has checked in and what time they checked in as well.
Got it.
And that
And
will
what about
appear
the
above
wait
booking.
list thing? Like, how does that work?
Great question. So we have a wait list. That's what I'm
Bless you.
expanding up here. Bless you. When I click on my little number up here, these are the people I currently have on my wait list. The way that the wait list works in Jane's, we have two options. And for you, I'm thinking that we're going to focus very much on the automated version of this, but there is an administratively managed version, which basically means if I were to open up a spot, so let's say somebody deleted an appointment they canceled, that spot would open up on the calendar. So I'm just going to go ahead and cancel this appointment. And then what would end up happening would be, because I already have some availability here, so I can just add these people if I have availability. But what would happen is there would be a black box that would show up here and it would say, this spot is now open to the people on your wait list. If I was managing this administratively, I would just reach out to that person and say, hey, I see you're on my wait list. I've got a spot. I'm going to book you in. Does that work for you? But there is an automatic version, and the way that works is when they add themselves to your wait list, or you add them administratively, they sign up for a text or an email or both. And when an available spot becomes open, they get a text or an email or both, and it will let them know that the spot has opened up, and it will give them a period of time to go to your online booking, book them in before that spot is released to the general public. So the idea here is that we're making sure that your reoccurring clients who are already on your wait list or people who are waiting to see you are getting sort of that first dibs, and then it opens up to the general public if they do not choose
So
that.
let me ask you this, because that's a pretty complicated concept. Like during my adjusting hours, I don't look at Jane. I don't look at my schedule. I look at no tech. I'm just focused on serving my practice members. So how do you explain that? Where do you suggest the education of the practice member comes into play with something like that?
Great question. So I think really looking at it from an automated point of view would be that it's a bit set it and forget it, which is really kind of nice. So in your online booking, you would choose to allow people to add themselves to your wait list. So that takes one thing off your plate that you don't need to worry about. Then you set up, and we'll go take a quick peek at that actually. Okay. So you would enable your waitlist notifications, and then you have a couple of options. You can either say nobody has exclusive access, or you can provide exclusive access to people that are on your waitlist, and give them an option for how long they have to go and steal that space, right? So if something comes available, they get an hour or 2 hours to go and rebook that space. And this could be happening for an appointment that's 2 weeks from now, and you don't have to worry about it because it is set it and forget it, right? Someone else is able to go on and book that available spot, and you don't administratively have to worry about anything. Once they have gone ahead and booked, it removes them from the wait list for that.
So awesome. And I want to hear about, I know that you guys are doing a lot with AI and integrating things like note taking. And can you just give us like the down low on what's going on with AI and Jane app and how it can save us time and energy?
I was
Yeah,
gonna say, Amy, sorry, before you get into that, I think Judith has a question.
yes.
Before we get out of wait list, we probably would need, if we ever were able to do this with our record system, we have a practice that draws from very, very long distance stuff. People tend to need quite a bit of, lead time if they're going to fill an open spots. One of our biggest problems is that we don't have a local clientele that is.
You know what I'm going to suggest, Judith? I'm going to suggest that you and Lauren actually set up a meeting because your practice is so unique and amazing. Set up a meeting so that all of your questions can be answered. I just want to let Amy go through her share. And then if you still have that question, if she hasn't hit on it, we'll stop because we're live in front of about 4,000 people right now. And I just want to make sure we're super mindful of time. But we will get your question answered, I promise.
I'll send you some information, Judith, and we can connect, okay?
Absolutely. Because
Cool.
I'd be very happy to dive into that. Unique practices, so exciting. So very happy to answer that question for you directly. So that'd be awesome. All right.
We're going to go into AI and like
Yes.
geeking out over AI stuff. And
Yes, let's talk a little bit about our AI for sure. So Jane is is currently in a beta right now for AI note taking, and what that basically is going to look like. So just taking a quick look at templates. I'm just going to pop into my templates here.
And you guys, if you don't know what AI is, if you're new to that world, it's really just having the computer do a lot of the work for you through things that have already been programmed and coded on your behalf as a PT or a chiropractor or an ND. The only place that I'm using AI in my private practice right now is in ChatGPT when I'm at a loss for creative words. I'll use it for inspiration because quite frankly, I'm just not there yet. Like, I think it's creepy for an AI bot to be answering my phone. I'm not there yet. I want to be there, but I'm not. So I'm really excited to see what Jane is coming out with because I trust your cadence on this stuff.
Yeah, I think, it's very important to note that, of course, HIPAA and privacy and all of those things are at the very forefront of how Jane was considering even bringing AI into Jane. We had to make sure that it was responsible and that it was not going to be used to inform anyone else's AI, if that makes sense. So basically, when we're utilizing AI tools within Jane, within your practice, the data and the information and the things that it's learning from is all the stuff within your practice and not in a wider area, because that privacy piece is so wildly important when we consider bringing in AI tools into Jane. So one of those features, and this is basically how this is going to look. I'm actually in a chart template right now, and I've added a piece called Voice to Chart. So and that is not necessarily the final name of this. As I mentioned, this feature is in beta, so it's learning and growing all the time. So the way that our AI works is that it has a prompt, and that prompt basically tells Jane, how do you want to see this note come out, right? So in this case, we've split it into just a SOAP note. So we want the AI to create output around the subjective, the objective, the assessment, and the plan. This is basically we came up with this sort of prompt, and you're able to edit it and change it to match the way that you would like to chart and what makes sense for your charting. We do have, I'm just going to show some, like we can do a quick preview. So I'm going to say I've got just a physiotherapy initial assessment here, and I'm going to show you what this looks like. It takes a moment to generate.
So you guys, a prompt in ChatGPT land is like a trigger. It's like a command. I command you to create this thing. Valagavu gamoosh galoosh, right? And then off to the races it goes. So, and
That's
what
right.
you're going to find is that all of these software programs for private practice are coming up with their own version of how AI fits into their window. And again, because of what I've seen so far with Jane app, there's such a level of trust in the way that they do things. Like every time you double click into what they do, you really get what they say that you're going to get. So I'm so excited to see how AI is rolling out.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. So we can see that just using my prompt here, it's pulled in things. So here's our subjective, and it talks about what the patient is presenting with, and then how long it's been going on. So basically, it's just creating a bulleted list, and keeping in mind this is coming from not just that prompt, it's coming from the conversation you're having with your patient, and that I think is the key piece here, because you're having you're basically you start this, and Jane is recording the conversation that you're having. So you're asking your patient how they're doing. Jane is pulling that information in and turning it into the subjective note. Then you're talking about, these are the things I'm seeing, and this is what I think we should be doing. And Jane is going to turn those into your objective assessment and your
what
plan.
tech do you need for that to work, Amy?
Basically, you need a device that has a microphone. That is quite literally it. Like just like Jane works on any device, as long as you have a browser on that device, you're going to be able to use Jane. So it can be done on a phone, on a tablet, on a computer. Both Mac and PCs are just fine. One thing I would say, and this is true of most of our features, Jane's administrative side is optimized for Google Chrome. So if you don't use Google Chrome, I suggest that you do, just because it makes these things just a little bit smoother. We're usually a little bit behind on keeping up with changes to things like the Mac OS and that type of thing, right? So if you're using,
That's so well said that we're optimized for Google Chrome, because people are always asking me, do I need to have a Google workspace and blah, blah. Let me ask you one more question while we're in this window.
Mhm.
Is it possible to get a private URL link to drop to people for a telehealth session, or does the appointment actually need to be booked in order to get that unique link? Like, can I
Great.
have a Lightsource chiropractic URL link for my telehealth for the actual place that I'm going to meet them?
That's a great question. So with the way that Jane's telehealth currently is directly built into Jane. So the appointment launches the telehealth call directly from Jane. So it doesn't have a unique URL that you're able to sort of email out. Basically, what you're doing is when you book that appointment, Jane lets your patient know this is a telehealth appointment, and then it gives them a myriad of options to be able to join that call when the time comes. So you won't have to worry about if for any reason they're like, geez, I think I deleted that email. You can actually send that email directly from the appointment panel. 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the things that we're coming out with the Practice Suite, which is an all-in-one client communication platform, is the Lead Pilot system. And the Lead Pilot system is a 10-minute free telehealth session. And all of the admin for this appointment is done automated with AI. So it's the only thing we suggest, like, do that out. You're gonna schedule them directly in the Practice Suite, because we can't get a URL for that telehealth session in Jane. But when we can, we're going to suggest that people are
Yeah.
scheduling that right from Jane. So is
I,
there anything, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I absolutely imagine as we move forward with AI, like we're starting with charts here. And
Mhm.
again, we're going to be very deliberate and cautious and careful about how we roll it out. But I can imagine a little bit of AI is going to touch almost every section of
I
Jane,
think
and
so
you're going to see a lot of improvements and functionality that we didn't have before. Will be coming through that as well.
And you guys, if this intimidates you, I get intimidated at least 10 times a day, right? And I lean into that intimidation and I say, come on, come at me. If this intimidates you, I invite you to lean into it and say to it, come on, come at me. Because this is where tech is going. You have got to at least know how to use a chatbot. And if you don't, please reach out to me so that I can give you a free lesson on chat GPT. At least know that part because it is where we're going. So what is there anything else with AI that you want us to know before we move on?
Right now with our AI charting being in beta, that's pretty much the one AI thing that we have rocking right now. Other than, of course, our when if we click on need help, we do have our sidekick, and our sidekick is powered by AI. So this was a question I had brought up at the beginning about how we support you. You can just ask a question, and you're technically asking a question just as if you were putting it into Chat
Right.
GPT. And Jane, instead of out giving you like, go read this big long article, is going to give you this, just the summary, the breakdown. This is what you need to know about these things. And then if you want to go see the wider article, it provides that option for you.
You
So
know
those
what
are
would
the
be
two
really
places.
cool? If Jane could, and this is probably in the works already, if Jane could provide their providers a chatbot for our websites and right? Because you guys already have all the answers to the questions that are most commonly asked in a wellness practice. Other than that, like there are all of these people out there, and you know that there's a whole range of like honesty and integrity who are giving us HIPAA compliant chatbots. That's why I haven't leaned into it because I haven't found one that I'm willing to put the Staffless Practice name on. And if anybody who's listening to this has one that they're like, I know this is legit, share it with me. Tell us about some new features. Show and tell time, Amy.
Oh, this is pretty exciting.
Let's
So,
do
I
it.
mean, we did get a chance to talk a little bit about the charting AI, which is really awesome. A couple of other things that are coming up, and I know this has been a massive feature request for quite a while. Jane is working on two-way messaging. So this is also currently in beta. So if any of your listeners are Jane users already and they're interested in becoming part of that, please reach out to our team. But basically, we are working on a two-way messaging beta that is going to have some really cool options that Jane has not traditionally had. The ability to let them know, like through text, that they've got messages, because traditionally that's been through email, and the ability for the patient to be able to upload documentation. That is a piece that Jane up until this point has not had, and is something that is going to be coming with this two-way messaging. So now we have a secure, HIPAA compliant two-way messaging system that is going to be completely
That's
in
cool.
Jane. I'm
Can
very
we
excited
take a
about that.
tour of Jane, Amy? Can you so show us, you know what I'll do? If I can just say, show us this and then show us that. So this is a schedule, guys,
Hmm.
right? You
Hmm.
can click on today to see the day schedule. You can click on the week. You can click on shifts up in the upper right corner to look at what what you're offering to your community. Like, this is how I'm organizing. This is a big thing in staffless practice, you guys. How are you organizing your time? We have an entire course on this. And then if we click off of shifts, let's see, you know how there's always like somebody standing behind your shoulder or behind your front desk person's shoulder looking at the names on your screen? You can shift P the screen and it will actually make everybody's name fuzzy. Is that not the coolest thing? So, and then but you have to remember to unshift P, to hit shift P again, and then you'll see the names again, or you'll see then you can go over into the practice member section where it says patients, and you can see a list of all of your patients, which is, let's just click on one. And up under Sophia's name, you've got all of the different settings of her Jane app account. So it's pretty intuitive the way you move through this. I think probably one of my favorite features of Jane is if you go to settings, I'm sorry, go to reports. And this, a lot of people have been asking us about our recall program. I did post something in my monthly post in Jane about how I actually get excited to do recalls. So if we go to here's how this works, you guys. We're going to walk through this step by step. Ready? And for my team, if you're cutting this video up, I'm at minute 25.05. So if you download this unscheduled patient report. Some of it'll download as a CSV or an Excel, whichever you prefer. Some of your practice members, you're not going to want to reach out to them for whatever reason, whether it's you saw them in the supermarket last week and they already told you they were coming back or they're no longer interested in care. Maybe it's that you know that somebody passed away, or you know that they don't want to be reached out to because they're going through a family crisis, whatever it is. So you want to go through the unscheduled patient report. You want to take the names out that you don't want to reach out to, and then you'll have a final group of names. And what we suggest doing is taking that list, uploading it into a practice suite, and sending a text out to all of the people on that. You would tag them recalls 125, and you'd send them a text that sounds something like this. Hey, it's Dr. Jody. It's been a minute. Text back a 1 to get on the schedule this week, a 2 to continue a break from care, or a 3 to be removed from this list. That's a recall program. It takes maybe it's 6 minutes long. I think it's actually less than 6 minutes. The most time-intensive part is waiting for the file to upload. So imagine how much time, energy, and money that could save you and your team, as opposed to calling all of these people one call at a time. So that's kind of showing you around the Jane app screen. Any other cool updates that you want to go over with us, Amy?
Yeah, cool thing that just to let you know, when I did mention two-way messaging, our first iteration is just basically going to be one-on-one conversations, that ability for them to upload messages and stuff. But this is something to be excited about, is that future thinking and future iterations is going to be the ability for you to be able to message everyone in your practice. So this is something that eventually you may not have to take outside of Jane to do, Jody, which will be really exciting, because that is a consideration in a future iteration on our messaging system, which is very exciting, which is awesome.
Okay, let's move over. Do you want to show us what taking notes looks like? Like a chart template?
Absolutely. I'm going to head back to the day view here, and I'm just going to pop in. So for my day view, when I click on an appointment, I'm immediately in that patient's chart. If I click on it one more time, I'm going to get that appointment panel that I can see from the day view. So I'm able to actually arrive the appointment, and then I can get started on my chart entry. So anything that we're seeing up here, these are quick chart notes. So these aren't templates. If I just wanted to add a really quick note, I could throw a really quick note on this patient's chart. It does become an official part of their chart. But if we've created templates such as this Chiro subsequent, we can go ahead and throw that in here. And charting is basically, we have, when you're creating a chart template with Jane, we have checkboxes, we have drop downs, we have note fields. This is an example of a checkbox with a note field. We have body charts and spine charts as well, which is, and you're able to drop pins or draw directly onto the image as well. The other thing that you can do with Jane, so for anyone who accepts insurance and wants to be able to add their billing codes, when you have the insurance plan with Jane, or even if you are a cash-based practice and you just want to chart your billing codes to be able to provide a super bill, you can do that from our massive database of codes. So I can start putting in like 98941, and I've added my billing code. And then I'm actually able to, over here, I can also add in, let's just say they have low back pain, low lumbar pain. There we go. So now I have a billing code and a diagnosis code, and I can actually push that over to my insurance info panel. And I have technically just created a claim for Medicare. by charting those codes and pushing them to my insurance panel.
What's the G in the lower right corner of the code field?
The G,
It's
and I
like
missed some.
go up a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
down in the window where the
Are you,
ICD-10 codes are.
oh, that's a Grammarly add-on.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, Grammarly likes to try to correct my grammar. It's installed on
it's on your
my,
computer. I
it's on my
Yeah.
computer.
understand.
Yeah, this guy here is just Grammarly. Yep.
All right, cool. How do people get into, I mean, so if you guys don't already have a Jane App account, I can give you a code where you get actually a free month with Jane. How do people get in touch with you if they would, like someone like Dr. Judith who wants to do a deep dive with you guys, have you listen to what's going on with her practice? How do they get in touch with you?
That's a fantastic question. So definitely we do have, you can call us, you can get a hold of us by phone. Our phone numbers and stuff. I'll make sure that we send those to your direct lines so that people can reach out. If you want to chat instead, you can absolutely chat with us, or you can send an email to support@jane.app. All three of those will get you in touch with our amazing support team, and they are happy to answer your questions. We also offer things such as account setup consultations. So if you do decide to grab that code from Jody and try us out for a month, we actually do account setup consultations with our support team where we'll help you get your schedule set up, and we'll help you take a look at how to create intake forms and get your chart templates set up and all of that wonderful stuff. Those are things that Jane offers. We also have a new service. If you're like, I would love that, but I really don't have time, but I could give you a little bit of money and you can help me do it. We also have paid what we call dedicated onboarding service, and for that it's $4.99 plus tax, and you get one person in our support team that is a specialist in account setup consultations, and they will help you get set up, actually create some note templates for you and some intake forms for you, which can be a huge time savings when you know, like you said, Jody, when sometimes you're like, I don't have the bandwidth to make this
That's
change
awesome.
happen on my
And
own.
why is that?
Yeah, that's new. That's another brand new thing. I was yeah.
Really cool feature. Are there any other features that are brand new that could save people time who don't have staff?
You know, great question. You know, the AI charting is a big one. The two-way messaging is a big one. We do have the ability now to do, we also have a lovely group of US insurance billers, and they are offering. So when we talk about the idea of doing a dedicated account setup consultation, if you bill insurance in the US and you want to have a conversation with someone who really knows what they're talking about, you can actually talk to that team directly. They also support our regular support team as well. So if you call in with a really complex question, we can reach out to them.
Can you do
And
the
they are,
billing for the practices?
we're not there yet. That is again probably future
So
iteration.
smart. Yeah.
But right now, what we're looking at is getting you set up to bill insurance in the most efficient way possible within your accounts. So
Right.
you get an account specialist to help you get the Jane side of things set up, and now you've got an insurance specialist that's going to help you get the insurance side of Jane set up. So those are two things that, and I think that one is $2.99 or $3.99 US. So just different options that we're giving you to be able to have, you know, get started in the best way possible for the least amount of time investment on your end.
Cool. Okay. Can you stop sharing for a sec?
Sure can.
So I want you guys to remember a couple things. Coach hat on, okay? Um, as soon as Amy stops sharing her screen, I'm just going to go into this for a second because I think it's important.
Sorry, I've lost my.
Too many
I've
windows.
I had too many windows.
I'm in
I've
window
lost.
overwhelm.
Yeah, I am
Let
so
me go
sorry.
into.
Let me bring up my Zoom here. I've lost my Zoom things. There we go. There
Oh
you
yeah,
go. Sorry about that.
that's okay, no problem. So remember that changing your EHR program, it will set you back a month in practice, at least a month, maybe a few months. It's a big job. So if Jane has people on there, they didn't have all of these extra services when I was setting up Jane. I actually the way I got to know Alex is he was my guy that I would call and be like, I'm waiting for Alex. I'm waiting for Alex. And I would spend an hour at a time on with Alex, asking, I had a whole list of questions written out. if you have the bandwidth or somebody in your world has the bandwidth to take advantage of those offerings, run with them. Staffless Practice sets up Jane accounts, but we charge like 3 times what Amy just quoted you. So please run with that offer. But know that you're coming, it takes time for your brain to adapt to a new software program. Where do you click around? What intuitively do you need to know? Probably the most challenging thing with developing the practice suite is knowing what are the bare bones that people need to have. And we just keep making it skinnier and skinnier and skinnier because people go into overwhelm with all of the buttons to click and all of the options. I promise you, if I can do it, anybody can do it when it comes to Jane. You'll get used to seeing the windows that your brain knows and trusts in order to get the stuff you need to get from this place to this place to do things compliantly and quickly. Lauren, before I open it up to questions, is there anything that you wanted to add? Because I know you've been around for a minute.
Yeah, I think honestly, like I'm so grateful to, who is it here? Sorry, at the top. Awaken Chiropractic and Dr. Sarita. They shouted out our Gene customer support team in the chat, and I passed that on, like I sent it in our channels because our support team is really here to help you, and our whole mission at Gene is helping the helpers because we know you all do so much for your people in your community. So I just really want to emphasize that, like we're here to help you, and we want to guide you along the way. So don't ever hesitate to reach out. And I'll say our call time is like you can speak to a real human in like less than 2 minutes to 5 minutes of wait time, which is super phenomenal because I know I hate calling other services and not getting on with them. So I really love that Jane gets to change that narrative. So yeah, that's
Well
my favorite
said.
thing.
And they're like happy people that you're talking
Yes,
to.
so
They're not
happy.
grumpy. And okay, so here's my big question for both of you guys, and then we're gonna stop share on Facebook and we're gonna go private into our client Zoom. Let's say that one of your Jane people, one of your clients came and knocked on your virtual door and said, I'm thinking about leaning into the Staffless Practice offerings, and I'm just not quite sure. I don't know if I'm really ready for what Dr. Jody's dishing out. What would you say to them?
Yeah, I can kick it off. Oh,
I was going to say,
you go ahead,
no,
Amy.
you go ahead. We're both so excited to
I know. So excited.
as someone who as someone coming in on this, like I had the opportunity to kind of like check out a little bit of what Dr. Jody's doing and all of that wonderful stuff leading into me speaking to you today. And I am a massive fan of a really well-run process and, you know, the idea of being staffless and having the tech do what it needs to do for you and having someone being able to guide you through that, I think is just an incredible offering. So I think that's amazing. I believe like I would do it if it were me. So I'll pass that over to Lauren.
Yeah, one thing I've learned, because I've known Joni for a couple years now, and I'm like in your Facebook group as well. And I just, you know what, she just cares so much about you and wanting your practice to succeed, whether it's through the Staffless Practice Program or like one of the many in there, or through the practice suite. I've just seen her revolutionize and evolve so much of patient like care, communication, over those past 2 years. And I'm like a baby in that regard. Like I feel like she's done it for so long. But she's just such a thought leader in this space. And I think you're in really, really great hands if you take any of her courses or any of her products. So highly, highly recommend. Have heard nothing but great things.
Thanks. All right, you guys, my cup runneth over. Don't go anywhere. Stay right there. If you're listening to us on Facebook, go make the world better with great care, and we'll talk to you soon.